Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wish and address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words and actions. All cell phones, pages, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. We'll have an invocation by Councilman John Amity and a pledge of allegiance by Council Lady Jessica Domang. Please rise.
Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us always, satisfy the needs to be met during this meeting. Lord, strengthen us as we make tough decisions, and I pray that we'll be fruitful in that. And Father, please guide us so that this meeting can be productive, and let us be effective and decisive. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I call the meeting to order of Wednesday, February 19th, 2020, 6 p.m. Can I have a whole roll call, Mr. Hampton?
Mr. Amadei?
Here.
Ms. Domingue? Mr. Daring Guidry? Mr. Babin? Mr. Dirk Guidry? Mr. Trosclair?
Here.
Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding? Mr. Michel? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, sir. Approve the minutes of the regular council session held on January 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Move Mr. Darren Guidry, second Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Distribute the minutes of the regular council session held on February 5th, 2020. That's been done. Approve the council payables list for 210, 2020 and 217, 2020. Move by Mr. John Navy. Second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor? Any opposition?
Show one abstention, please.
Show one abstention. Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Journal of Business. Commending the Terrebonne Parish principals. Mr. John Navy.
Yes, it gives me a great honor to do this, especially coming from the educational system myself. Accommodation, whereas the Terrebonne Parish School District has been privileged with administrators who recognize the challenge of providing a quality education to all students, with an understanding that today you lead the schools, tomorrow your students will lead the world, and where there's no more befitting honor than the recognition of an individual's dedication and work by his or her colleagues, and whereas a select group of administrators have excelled beyond their duties to be nominated in honor to represent Terrebonne Parish at the regional level of the state, and whereas representatives of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government wish to acknowledge the achievement of these worthy individuals who have performed remarkably in their administrative positions. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that the Terrebonne Parish School District be congratulated and the following individuals be commended for being selected as 2021 Principals of the Year, and that they all be wished the best in their future endeavors. Signed by the Parish President, Gordy Dubb, Council Chairman, Steve Trusclair, and the entire Parish Council. As I call your name, please come to the mic. Elementary Principal of the Year, Ms. Monica Bro from Acadian Elementary School. Middle School Principal of the Year, Ms. Sherry McGuire from Allegiant Park Middle School. High School Principal of the Year, Matthew Hobson, H.L. Bourgeois High School. Okay, young ladies, can you please step
You want
the
to
mic
step
for
in
a
the mic,
second?
please?
Definitely, I recognize the hard work that you all do as educators. I started this program maybe 9 years ago when I first got on the council. And I want to thank the council for allowing me to continue this as far as recognizing principals, students, and teacher of the year. It's without a doubt, none of us would be up here if it wasn't for you all as educators. So I really appreciate what you all do, getting across to our students and being dedicated the way you are. So definitely much love and thank you all. Appreciate it.
If y'all would like to say a few words, you're welcome to
Grab
speak.
the mic.
If you'd like to speak, you're welcome to.
I would just like to thank everybody just for recognizing our hard work, because our jobs are not easy. Day to day, we deal with all kinds of things, so we just appreciate the recognition.
Thank you.
Yes, and I would like to also thank you all for this. This is an honor, and it is indeed a pleasure to be a part of the Terrebonne Parish school system where we can give back who gave to us. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. And from the COP chair, echoing Mr. Navy, we recognize the hard, dedicated work you guys do, and we appreciate everything you do. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Continuing on item A, commending Terrebonne Parish teachers, Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government commendations. Whereas honors have been bestowed upon the professionals who have exhibited superior dedication and service to students in Terrebonne Parish Public Schools District, and whereas these honorees have been selected for a highly competitive field of their colleagues from public schools throughout the district to represent Terrebonne Parish at the regional level of the state for each of their categories, and whereas, as being quoted, the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. William Arthur Ward, and whereas representatives of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government wish to acknowledge the achievements of these worthy individuals who have performed remarkably in the classroom. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on the behalf of the parish president and the entire parish consolidated government that the Terrebonne Parish School District be congratulated and the following individuals be commended for being selected as the 2021 Teachers of the Year, and that they all be wished the best in their future endeavors. The Elementary Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jennifer Berg Boudreaux from Mulberry Elementary. The Middle School Teacher of the Year, Shane Willis from Homer Junior High School. For the High School Teacher of the Year, Stephanie Pellegrin from Terrebonne High School. These commendations are also signed by Parish President Gaudy Dove and Council Chair Steve Truscliffe.
Thank you all once again from the chair, and once again, we appreciate everything you do to educate our children and moving our country and our parish, our country, state forward. So thanks a lot. Once again, on item A, commending Terrebonne Parish Students of the Year, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, and it's my privilege to read this commendation. It reads, whereas honors have been bestowed upon 3 students selected to represent the Terrebonne Parish Public School System as the 5th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade Students of the Year, and whereas these honorees were selected from a highly competitive field of their peers from public schools throughout the district to represent Terrebonne Parish at the regional level of the State Student of the Year program for each of their grade levels, and whereas having performed remarkably in academic achievement, leadership ability, and service citizenship, those selected possess credentials which are exemplary and are acknowledged as the best in their respective grade level. Now therefore be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that the following individuals be commended for being selected as 2019-2020 Students of the Year, and that they all be wished the best in their future endeavors. Signed by Parish President Gordon E. Dove, Council Chairman Steve Trosclair. 5th grade Student of the Year, Reese Chassaw, Mulberry Elementary School. 8th grade Student of the Year, Brian Blanchard, Evergreen Junior High School. And 12th grade Student of the Year, Hannah Robert, South Terrebonne High School.
Hey, guys and gals, stand by the podium, please. Don't go sit yet.
First, I want to congratulate you on your honor today and thank you for what you're doing. You guys are the future of the parish, the future of this state, and the future of this country. So keep your minds focused on what you're doing. You guys are going to be fantastic in the years to come, and I look forward to reading about you and seeing you on TV for all the accomplishments that you're going to make. Again, congratulations.
Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Mr. Navy.
Yeah, and listen, I echo what Mr. Amadee said. You are going to be great, and I passion you on with all the love because I know that it's hard work for you all the students. I'm a guidance counselor myself, and I see the hard dedication that you are trying to put forward as far as your grades and everything, and trying to be up there, making sure that you have the honor roll and everything of that nature. But keep working hard. Please keep working hard. Ms. Jessica Doman, our new council member, is going to be introducing something very new in the near future for our students. So I won't let the surprise out. But she's going to be doing something that's going to bring some uniqueness to what we try to do here from the council. We have to appreciate what you all, because one day you are going to be the future leaders. I tell everybody this every year, whatever you do, don't be politicians, okay?
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, I too want to congratulate you. Special children come from special parents. And so I know for you guys to achieve what you did, I know you have had support from your parents. So I want to congratulate them because they have a piece of this too, and congratulate you. Well deserved, and keep up the good work. We look forward to having you, sit up here in the future. Thanks.
Okay. Thank y'all. Y'all keep up the good work. Item B, South Louisiana Wetlands Discovery Center presentation of cash match for capital outlay funds to build Phase 1 of the Wetlands Discovery Center. Mr. Jonathan Foray. Ms. Reagan DePlanis.
Hi, everybody. My name is
Crapel.
Reagan Crapel, and I'm the president of the Wetlands Discovery Center. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that educates students on issues related to coastal land loss. We have a 4-member staff and a 15-member board of directors. Unfortunately, as you can tell, our executive director, Jonathan Forey, wasn't able to be here tonight. Something about a full moon, I'm not really sure, and I didn't ask a whole lot of questions. So I'm here in his place. We currently produce 9 different educational programs that work to build more resilient communities and for a stronger Terrebonne Parish. And we're able to fund this work by securing multiple grants from foundations and businesses and by fundraising. You're all probably familiar with our most popular fundraiser, the Rougarou Fest, which has gained international recognition and has helped put Terrebonne Parish on the map as Homa's signature festival. It is because of our hardworking volunteers and the generous donors to our capital campaign that we are able to present this check to you tonight. Now let me explain why we're giving you money rather than asking for it, because we've been here before. The Wetlands Discovery Center has secured capital outlay funds in the amount of $990,000 to build Phase 1 of our educational campus on land leased to us by the parish. This land is located next to the Courtyard Marriott across from the main branch library. As per state law, there must be a 25% cash match to access these capital outlay funds, which means that $247,500 $306,500 is needed to move forward with this project. I have notes. We are proud to present you with a check for $306,000, which is $58,500 more than what was required for us to raise. Now, I'd like to invite Ms. Juana Woodard and Ms. Joy Tingle, our founding board members and board member emeritus, to say a few words and to present President Dove with this check. Ms. Juana.
Thank you, Reagan.
Yes, please state your name, please. Name and address.
Juana Woodard. First of all, I want to thank Terrebonne Parish President Gordy Dove and all the entire council for your support. We could not do much without the help of our government. And I also want to ask you for support in the future. I'm not shy. And this milestone has been a long time coming. But in the meantime, our talented and energetic director, with God's help, along with his board members and his absolute army of volunteers, has not been waiting around in the back bushes while things happen. He's used his time to develop, as Reagan has expressed, a premier festival that has literally put home on the map. I don't know how many of you have noticed how many awards that we've received, but it's been a lot, and mostly to these people's hard work. And hundreds of school children have learned about the conservation of their fragile wetlands environment. And so we haven't been sitting around doing nothing while we're waiting to get to this point. But I'd like to, on behalf of the South Louisiana Wetlands Discovery Center, present this check of $306,000 to President Gordy Dove. It is different. I'm giving you money.
I know, it's great. We'll be done. Yeah.
Oh, you got where are you? Come in front of me.
Okay, I mean, not to me.
All right.
By the way, it's made out of cash. So good.
And Reagan,
Great job.
Reagan,
Been a while.
um,
Great job. Y'all come back.
let Jimmy know I apologize for acknowledging you as Reagan Duplantis instead of Reagan Caprell.
No, I like Reagan Duplantis Crapel. That works just fine.
Okay, thanks.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And Mr. Darren Gidry would like to say something.
Yeah, again, I want to thank you guys for all that you do. You know, I served on the Terrebonne Economic Development Authority when the Marriott was wanting to build their facility, and they were one of the competitors. And the Marriott was real insistent. They wanted both of those properties, including the property that the museum was. And we said, no, the museum is going there. We're reserving that. We're reserving that. And one of our members, and I won't say who it was, talked to them and said, we're going to put in the contract a first right of refusal because they'll never raise the money. So you proved that member wrong. So good job. And Mr. Dove, you cannot buy a pump with that. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Certainly. And pass on to Jonathan that we really appreciate the hard work he's doing.
Yeah, we will.
Thanks a lot.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Dove?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations. You know, it's not often you get a group that raises this kind of money. That's, you know, how hard y'all have worked to get to that, to get to the stage of construction. And congratulations. It's unbelievable. And keep it up. Thank y'all very much. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure it gets through the Baton Rouge and with the capital outlay, and call your legislators and push them. Of course, you saw this year we have Jerome Zarang on appropriations, and Brett Allen on revenue and fisc. Tanner McGee is pro temp because we got Beryl Amadi, and and also Mike Facey. So we got a real good group up there. So this, with all the people we have on money committees, hopefully we should be able to get that through. Congratulations.
Item C, update on pump drainage On drainage pump station, generators, and other projects, Mr. Toots.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you refer to your reports, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation to go along with it. Okay. The first item on the PowerPoint is the 48-inch pump that we just recently completely rebuilt and reinstalled at Smith Ridge. The lower unit, if you look at from the second to last flange to the bottom, is the impeller housing that needed to be cast and machined. This is a $30,000 part, but it is completely installed, fully operable, and it's 100% working on float control. The next item is, this is a variable frequency drive that E3 built for us. They built it for about half the cost of what a new one would cost from the factory. This is going to be able to regulate the RPMs of the electric motor on the 30-inch pump that is at South Ellendale Estates. This is the contractor, our maintenance contractor, widening the borrow ditch. This is from the pump station facing Highway 182. We widened it and deepened it for about 150 feet long. Our own employees are gonna widen the ditch from the pump station to Savan Road along the pump access road. I'm going to jump ahead, and this is part of our capital projects. This is an aerial view of the Hanson pump station. Maybe if y'all can turn around and look at the big screen, I'm going to point out with the pointer. This is the sump area, and it's concreted. This is at a minus 17.5 feet. The very top of the bulkhead is at a plus 13 feet. So from this point to this point is roughly 30 feet long. If you look at the 4 bays, these are where the pumps are going to go. The water runs this way. You see how it's widened? This is a gradual grade from the 7.5 foot of the Barra Canal to this 17.5 foot. And then we have bulkheading directing the water to the pump station. There are going to be 5 electrically operated trash rakes on this side of the pump station. This side is the discharge side. This bulkhead is a temporary bulkhead that's going to be removed. That was placed so that we could put we could dig it out, put the geotech cloth, and put the riprap to keep the water from washing away once the discharge water hits this area. This is another view. This is from the discharge side. As you see, there's some rainwater collected, but all of the riprap has been installed as of this time. And then you can see the Barra Canal that goes all the way up to Highway 182. This is actually the riprap being installed, and this area is approximately 80 foot wide by 80 foot long. The the concrete piles you see are where the 66-inch diameter discharge pipes are going to go here, 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 and here. It's a 60-inch pump, but the discharges are 66 inches in diameter. This shows another view of the Barrow Canal, and you can see at this point they're starting to widen it out. This is right in front of the pump station. This area, if you see the magnitude of it, this is the grade all in the back. This area is going to be paved with concrete so that it doesn't erode out. This is a picture of the pilings. The pumps are going to go in between this. These yellow collars are called friction collars. They're temporarily put there, and then the cap piles are put on top of that. This holds the cap piles in place until they're cemented, and then the deck goes on top of that. The pumps goes on top of the deck. This is, again, another view. Again, a recap. This 4 60-inch pumps with 900 horsepower electric motors each. We're going to have 2 4-megawatt backup generators. The generators are in. They're ready to be installed. This is going to be our biggest pump station built to date. It has a capacity of 450,000 gallons per minute, or 1 million gallons every 2 minutes and 15 seconds. If we run all 4 pumps 24 hours a day, we'll be pumping out 648 million gallons per 24-hour period. This is a view from the bottom. You can see some of the bar grading going up, but this gives you kind of a idea of the magnitude of the size of this pump station. This is some of the prefab concrete deck panels that are being installed. This project has been delayed because there was some electrical equipment that needed to be purchased, because we decided to go with Energy versus Sleeka. Sleeka wanted to charge us about $375,000 for the to run the power to this station, where Energy said they wouldn't charge us anything. And then going forward, the energy rate we got for the electricity usage from Energy is going to save us about another $100,000 a year based on the projected use of the pump station. And that's about it for this pump station, unless Mr. Dove, you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it, Mike. And you have any slides on Valhalla or?
No, Valhalla is completed.
Right. If you could, on my slides, could you put mine in? You covered most of it, Mike. I will just show the Valhalla slides right quick, because the Valhalla pumps are completed, 4 30-inch pumps. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going. Elliot, go back. Okay, the Bayou Terrebonne lock system is under construction. The crane's out there. Sea Level was awarded the job. It's about $11 million with engineering, and it is under construction. That's the way it's going to look when it's completed. That's the artist's conception. If you go to the next one, it should show some cranes. Next one. Okay, go back. One more. Okay, well, just go ahead and go forward. They don't have the cranes on there, but the cranes are in location in Montague. That's the conveyance channel in Chauvin. That has been awarded. You should be seeing equipment out there any day now. That's about $10 million, and that's in Chauvin, Louisiana conveyance channel. That's moving forward. It's got a pump station on it. 4 48-inch pumps, and like I said, that has been awarded. That's under construction, fully funded by Terrebonne Parish. And Lashbrook, we should go to bid on that in about another week, 10 days. We have the engineering plans back in our possession, and we're going to be moving forward on Lashbrook. That's to replace the existing pump station in Dirk Guidry's district. Little Bob Black, unfortunately, that is fall behind schedule. We're meeting with the engineers to try to get the contractor to speed up on that. That's a 28-inch, that's a 20-foot radial gate with 2 48-inch pumps across from Sugarwood. If we could. Okay, and that's it.
Okay, if I can continue, I kind of jumped around. Mayfield, on the pump station report, we still scheduled to do a pump swap out. That hadn't worked out yet, and we're presently designing and ordering the material for the sump boxes to be installed at the new pump stations at Cascade Drive in St. Louis Canal and Westview Drive at St. Louis Canal. These are going to have to be custom made sump boxes because we have one ditch running into two, so it's going to probably have three sides are going to have trash screens on it. On the emergency generator report, all generators are fully operable at the time. We ran them all as of yesterday. On to the capital projects report. The highlighted items are new from last week. As you may or may not know, we did the ribbon cutting and the bridge opening on the Polk Street Bridge project. That was done yesterday. The contractor was given the award for the elevator project at Government Towers. And by the way, we will be shutting down the electricity for about an hour this coming Saturday so that the emergency generator project can continue. Everybody should have got a blast email from myself or David Drury this morning, but it's just going to be shut down for an hour. IT is aware of it. Just know that you may have to reset your clocks in your offices, etc. President Dove covered the Petit Caillou conveyance project. We did issue the notice to proceed. We have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow with the contractor and All South engineers on the Valhai Connector Road that goes from the Bayou Sports Complex to Valhai. And we awarded the contract to Edward Laperouse for the American Legion roof replacement project. This came out about 270 something thousand. It was about $60,000 on the budget, and that included an alternate of $55,000, which was to replace some rotten side panels while they replacing the roof. And that concludes my reports on pumps and projects, unless anybody has any specific questions.
Okay. Our monitors are not working, so I'm not sure what order they were in. So I'm going to just start with Mr. Babin.
Mike, on the Hanson Canal, how many millions of gallons you said? I hate to make you go back on that, but
Hold on a second. I have paper.
Well, it's okay on the number. Have calculations been done since the intercoastal flows west to east? Is there going to be any rise? And Gordy may be able to answer this question. Any calculations done on the rise of the intercoastal canal coming through, or is this supposedly going to dissipate into the marsh?
It's going to be very minimal effect. It is going to dissipate into the marsh, and you look at the area of the marsh between the pump station and the intercoastal. Again, I think from all of our slosh model studies and hydrographics, it will not affect the height of the intercoastal.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mr. Navy.
Yeah, Mike, I see you have on the splash park on the air base, substantial completion was conducted on 12/2019. But I'm understanding that there's some problems out there as far as the water flow. I spoke with David and I spoke with Mike Sober. So what's the status now? What are we doing and what are we waiting on? And do we know where the problem is?
Yeah, the engineer called for, I think, a 4-inch pipe supply, and Waterworks, for whatever reason, ran 2-inch. So Mr. Waits, who did the engineering, is in discussions with Mr. Soberin to find out what was the problem and see if they're going to resolve it.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Jessica Domingue.
Yes, sir. On the pump report here, I see that you've got 2 pumps on St. Louis Canal Road, and I was under the impression that it was going to be a third. Is that one that's coming as well?
Mr. Dove.
Yeah, what it is we're installing the first 2 12-inch pumps, one by Westview and one by West. What is that? West End. One by West End, one by Westview. We're gonna put the two 12-inch. The sump should be under construction in steel, and then we will put the 30-inch after those two. So yeah, it is 3 pumps, 130 and 212.
All right, thanks for the
And we
clarification.
will pump underneath the road to the underneath St. Louis Canal Road to the St. Louis Canal itself, and it should really drain that. And with the culverts we're adding on West End, it should really help the drainage in that area. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
We're studying the hydrographics of that area right now, and we just haven't decided exactly where the best placement for that 30-inch pump would be right now. So it's kind of in a hold position until we determine where we think we're going to get our best bang for the buck.
Okay, and I absolutely, we appreciate this going in because the people in Lisa Park, they're definitely having some problems over there with some water. So absolutely appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Darren Guidry.
Yeah, and what John was saying, if they're having some pressure issues at the splash park, if 4 inches would call for an engineering, it may sound like 2 inches equals the same, but it's
No.
not. You only get about 60% of the flow that you would get from a 4 inch. So it definitely needs to be up to engineering standards, and so they need to hook that to a 4-inch line. Thanks.
I agree with both of you 100%. And like I said, Mr. Waits, our engineer, is in discussions with Mr. Sobert.
Seeing no further lights, moving on.
Motion to go to public hearing?
Motion to go to public hearing, Mr. Darren Gish, second, Mr. John Davy, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. 6:30, public hearings relative to, item A, an ordinance to amend the 2020 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. 1, reclass several CDBG recovery projects, net effect 0. Public Safety Fund, $75,000. Public Safety Fund, $21,000. Clerk of Court, $69,448. Public once. Public twice. Public 3 times. Motion to close, Mr. John Davy. Second, Mr. Darren Guidry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Guidry.
I had a question before.
We're not gonna vote.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second for Mr. Darren Guidry, and I have a light, Miss Jessica Domingue.
Yeah, maybe Ms.
Hang on, it didn't come on, okay.
All right, Ms. Candace, maybe you could help us with this. The 69,000 for the clerk of court. I read the report, and it looks like they're needing some upgraded equipment or some computers, or so. Is that what this is for? Can you maybe clarify that for me?
Yes, ma'am, of course. Their computers are outdated. They are, I think, several years old. I forget what operating system they're running on. And we're in the process of changing all of our computers throughout the parish because of the recent ransomware attacks and stuff to make sure that we have the most up-to-date. So we want to make sure they're there too. And they also need to preserve some of their books and records that have been damaged, some water damage, as well as just old. So that's part of the preservation. So part of the cost is that too.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Motion to go to regular order?
Motion to regular order, Mr. Darren Guidry, second, Mr. John Davy, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 3, public questions addressed, item 2, staff reports. Mr. Chris Pulaski, presentation for the Planning and Zoning Department regarding the upcoming U.S. Census.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I have a little PowerPoint. I'm sure everyone knows April 1st is Census Day, so 2020, April 1st is 41 days away. So what we wanted to just touch on is why the census is so important for Terrebonne Parish and why we need to increase the level of participation and what steps both the Census Bureau as well as the parish and our partners in all this are doing. certainly the Census Bureau has updated into the 21st century. So now, I mean, yes, you can still fill out the form and send it in the mail as you've done in the years past, but they also now will have the census online, also mobile friendly, so you can do it on your smartphone or your tablet. What they're looking for, or what is so important about the census, it's twofold. One is representation in Washington, in Congress. We lost a seat last go around because we had such a poor level of participation in the state. So we're hoping to improve that this year, or this go around. The other one is money, the economic impact that the census has. I mean, a lot of the projects that are funded either through DOTD or HUD, I mean, all of those things come from federal dollars, and a lot of that is based on the census data itself. So the fewer people we have participating, the fewer people that reflect that are residents in Terrebonne Parish, so the fewer dollars that we get. I mean, roughly speaking, a family of 4 over a 10-year period equates to about $80,000 worth of federal funding. So figure those out, it adds up real fast. So this talks about how the census data is used, transportation needs, housing assistance, all of that. But I think what really this slide needs to focus on is how it's not used. The Census Bureau, it kind of operates independently in the sense that their data that they collect, they are not allowed to share with any other federal agency. The IRS can't ask for it. ICE can't ask for it. It's untouchable. I mean, we as parish representatives, we all had to sign this disclosure basically saying we're going to go to jail if we disclose this data. So they're very protective of it, and that's one of the things that they feel over the years has been one of the reasons for poor levels of participation, is a mistrust of how the information is being used. So to combat that, what they have done is create these complete count committees. So in every parish or municipality, they reached out and established this group of people. So they came to the parish. It's the parish, our MPO, South Central Planning, as well as some other major partners in this. But we've reached out to members of the community, minority group leaders, church leaders. I mean, we're trying to reach a good cross-section of people that can then take the information back out into the community to explain to them what this information is for. You can trust this is what they're asking for. I mean, the questions can get detailed, but really what they want is how many people live under that roof. That's really all they're looking for. I mean, the more demographics you can give them, ages and stuff, the better data, the better the results. But at a minimum, that's what they're after, is how many people live in Terrebonne Parish. They're only concerned about residential structures. They're not going to be sending this doesn't go to businesses or anything. It's strictly residences. So again, these the Complete Count Committee, Tara Lambeth, my assistant director, has been instrumental. She chairs this committee. They've broken up into subcommittees that are focused. Colin DeGurse with their GIS department, he's been real helpful with the mapping. But what we've done to help with the Complete Count Committee is we've created our own website, countthebayou.org. Our wonderful IT staff, very talented. So we're pushing this out to try and raise awareness and increase participation. The U.S. Census Bureau loved what we did so much that they're showing this all over the country. They just did a presentation in California where they showed our website and how much action we're getting on it. It's all out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So we're trying to push this as hard as we can. This slide is old. Again, it's 41 days away. We created Yvette the Egret is our mascot for this effort. So you can go ahead and, if you choose to, you could go ahead and pre-register with the Census Bureau. Again, once it goes live, you can fill it out online. or you can wait and do it in the mail. Or you could, if you don't have access to a computer, and if the mail's too slow for you, you can call the Census Bureau, and there'll be a live person on the other end, multilingual live person, who can just basically read you the questions and you tell them the answers, and they write it down for you. And then the last step in the process is the old school knocking on your door. There's not a slide in here about this, but you can find out information on countthebayou.org. Is the Census Bureau is looking for census takers. They have part-time positions available now. It ranges from $18 to $24 an hour plus mileage, and it won't interfere with any government assistance that you may be getting. They're just looking for people to help out. They want local people. I mean, I think the days of hiring, college-age students from wherever out of state who come into the area, don't know anybody and don't know where to go, that's gone. That's not going to work anymore, and they realize that. So we're pushing this out through our committee. We have community, education, government, media, tribal government. Those are our subcommittees. We've been out in the past, the Christmas festival, demonstration day, but we also, and events like the boat and RV show, but in the future, we've got, let's see, that's January. So February, here's our presentation to the council. We've got the commodity distribution in March, and then March for the wetlands. So we're looking for opportunities to table. And the Census Bureau has folks for our area. Javona Jones spoke before the last council. I think last fall she came and spoke to you guys. So she's still working in our area. Of course, she has like 8 regions in the parish or in the state, so she's pretty busy. But we're here to help any way we can. Like I said, all this kind of translates to funding for this parish for the projects that happen in everyone's district for everyone's constituents. So countthebayou.org. We encourage everybody to go take a look. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Pulaski. Mr. Navy.
Yeah, Chris, our founders' fathers had good insight because, this part of the Constitution and to make sure that this get counted every 10 years. But a question I have in reference to how this impact locally, does the census count, like you said, every household, whatever situation may be, in every area of the community, does it have a direct impact when we do redistricting or what?
Well, I think that plays into it, of course. I mean, the representation in Washington, all of that kind of ties into the maps that are created, the boundary maps that are created. So we've been giving information, feeding information to the Census Bureau, and I believe, one of the reasons South Central Planning as our MPO is such a valuable partner in this is they're going to be assisting the parish with any redistricting and how that happens.
And see, I know they do it from a congressional aspect of it. I know how important it is, but that's why I was wondering, since I see Pat Gordon here, Pat, will it? Can you answer that question, Pat? Because I'm curious because there's some other things that may play into this. Just like you said, we lost a seat.
Right.
There's some concerns in certain areas, especially what we have talked about. I think that you and I, Pat, talked years ago, especially in these minority districts where, you may not have those counts, those pockets anymore, and it's kind of hard to keep redrawing those lines all over the place. So,
Pat Gordon, South Central Planning. Mr. Navy, you're absolutely correct. Me and Kevin Belanger have been talking about that, is that we have done the redistricting for all 7 parishes in the South Central Planning District. We've also done a number of the school boards, but we believe the most challenging will be Terrebonne Parish, is to be able to carve out those 2 minority districts.
Yes.
Just for what you said, the out-migration has created this I guess, shedding of the minorities throughout the district, throughout the parish, which is good. That's a good thing, but you end up not being able to create those minority districts. So we need to start talking about that early on, before we get to the point of the census coming out, and then we get jammed with having to submit this to the Justice Department.
And I agree, because I know we had some discussion 10 years ago in reference to this, and that raised some concerns. Me and Mr. Harding represent 2 minority districts, and that's a conversation we really need to have. That's why I was asking, with the census count is going to be a big impact on that. and redistricting, him and I, all of us need to have that conversation. But I'm glad you cleared it up because
Yeah,
I wanted to really
and
know.
let me tell you, South Central Planning is looking forward to the challenge. We believe that it's doable. We just need to start early. That's
Okay,
all.
thank you.
We have a little light. Maybe he wants to speak to you, Pat. Hang
Sure.
on. Mr. Harding?
Oh, hey,
Yes, just as Mr. Navy, he had spoke, that it is a concern of mine. And like you said, it's progress, and people making more money. They're living in different areas, and we're developing in different areas of the parish, and people are going there. It is a concern of mine again, is that how we would do it, and while you're here, and Mr. Chris right there, what he's saying. We have to get the census report that's to the public, to you. Right now, we look at the fact that 10 years ago, in 2010, we were actually looking for the census. But then within, let's say for instance, within the last 8-9 years, we had a migration to the north. So we're operating on something that's really outdated right now. Usually when the census comes up, it's behind. And I agree with you that we should start this process right now if the public, if the people of Terrebonne Parish, if the people of the state of Louisiana wants this to have a proper representation of the people that are in the populace according to the minorities and those that are not counted, undecided or whatever. So it's very, very important. I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm pretty sure Mr. Navy. And I also want to recommend that all the other members of the council be involved with this also.
And you may want to start talking to the school board ahead of time as well, because in some cases, the Terrebonne Parish School Board has followed the same districts as the parish council, and sometimes they haven't. When I know that in 1980, 1990, they followed pretty much the same boundaries. Then 2000, they didn't. And so you may want to get with them ahead of time also to see if they'd like to join in on the cost of the reapportionment, so that they don't have to spend that money separately from y'all and have totally different districts.
And the school district, they are one of our partners in the Complete Count Committee too, so they're very familiar with the whole process.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Seeing no
Thank you.
further lights, we're going to move on. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just put it on.
Okay, Mr.
All right, thank you. What about, I have an exchange student. Is that person going to be counted? And how long do they have to be here?
They're asking how many people live under live in this structure on April 1st, 2020. So if they're living there, they're living there. Count them.
Thank you. You want to come to my house on April 1st?
Okay, moving on to public wish to address the council. Seeing no speaker cords, we're going to move on. Committee reports, budget and finance, Mr. John Davy.
I'd like to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held February 17, 2020. I have two public hearings. An ordinance to declare 2011 Ford F-250 with an 8-foot bed, Unit 674 from Sewer Treatment Department having a value of $6,000 as surplus, and authorizes said item to be disposed of by any legal approved methods, and calling a public hearing on March 1st, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. I need more glasses. An ordinance to declare a 2011 Ford F-250 Unit 821 having a value of $6,000 and a 1994 Ford Backhoe Unit 725 having a value of $10,000 from Gas Distribution Department as surplus, and authorizing said items to be disposed of by any legal approved methods, and calling a public hearing on March 11, 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Move, Mr. Navy. Second, Mr. Darren Gidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Public Services Committee, Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, I make a motion to that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee held on February 17, 2020, and I have no public hearings.
Motion, Mr. Carl Harding. Second, Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Community Development and Planning, Ms. Jessica Domang.
I make a motion
motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on February 17th, 2020, and have one public hearing. An ordinance to amend the Chapter 28, Article X, Section 28-202F of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances so as to include and amend zoning districts table listed that will list amended zoning districts for the purpose of publication of amended zoning districts and call a public hearing on March 11th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Jessica Domang, second by Mr. Darren Gidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Street lights,
Yes, sir.
as per Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. John Davy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, one vacancy. Mr. Patrick Gord submits an application. We got a motion to open, close, and appoint by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. John Davy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Oh, I'm sorry, I have, okay.
I just want to ask, so now, all
Oh, I'm sorry.
based on what I'm reading here, it looks like all of the positions in the Terrebonne Parish Tree Board are now filled again? Because I know at one point there were 3 of them.
For the moment, yes, but we do have a tree board member who's going to be retiring for the second time in the very near future, so there'll be another vacancy probably in the next month or so.
Okay, and I was just curious about, because I know that we had 3 of them not too long ago, but thank you, Mr.
We got
Pratt.
2 good pickups recently, so.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carried. Congratulations, Mr. Gordon. Would you like to speak? Okay, thank you. Consolidated Waterworks, number 1, Council District 3, one vacancy due to a member moving out of district. Mr. Richard Bazette Jr. submits application resume. Motion by Mr. Michelle to appoint Mr. Bazette, second Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Mr. Michelle.
Okay, and I just want to welcome Mr. Bazette to that board. He was going to be here tonight, but he actually had a Mardi Gras related accident, and he's on the mend, but he's looking forward to being a productive part of that board. So thank you all for y'all's support of Mr. Bazette.
Council members request discussion of Councilman John Davy. Discussion and possible action regarding development of certain policies and procedures to establish a processing criteria for requesting and placement of speed humps along parish public roads.
This is actually an item from the last council that I put on and we discussed. So what we asked for Mr. Pulaski to do was to come up with a process. This is pretty much a item that we've been discussing for several years, but finally we do have some good progress with this, and I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Pulaski so he can kind of explain what's the new application. The difference between, once again, I want to make sure the public understand, not speed bumps, but speed humps.
Yep, thank you. So speed humps, what's a speed hump? So really what we're talking about, usually they're about 3 to 4 inches in height. They're about 3 to 4 feet sort of in width, or length rather, and then they basically span the width of a travel lane, so about 12 feet. It's not like a speed bump like you see in a commercial parking lot or something like that. But what we did was, and this, we being David Rome and I had talked about this recently, and then I've also come to learn that Mark Black had also prepared some recommendations that we're looking into bringing into this as well. But we did some research looking at other comparable communities to what they do. So essentially what you have in front of you is just a real rough outline of what we could establish as guidelines and procedures for speed hump requests. So the first thing is there's an application. Typically what you end up with is somebody from the neighborhood. In a lot of these, what we're looking to do is have a primary contact and a secondary contact. So we want 2 names that we can get a hold of if we need to. Of course, there's a proposed location. What block are we talking about? Where do you want them? And then is this a new speed hump, or are we relocating one, or is this a removal? So then we look at criteria. Okay, well, first, the first thing is you file the request with us. You don't go, contact, DOTD or something. You go to the parish, whether it's the parish public works or planning and zoning. I guess David and I'll have to arm wrestle for that one. So speed hump installation is determined by, a number of criteria. One, the length of the block. Usually it's about 600 feet or less, but there's a minimum as well. We're also looking at the distance from intersections, distance from curves or other visual obstructions. We want to make sure that the placement wouldn't obstruct driveways or fire hydrants or inlets or ADA ramps or other infrastructure. And there must be at least a minimum of 300 feet between humps. Now, this is criteria that I've pulled from other jurisdictions. I mean, this is not set in stone. I mean, this is just a rough draft, and we'll work through the details. Also, looking at the type of street, how many average daily trips does it have? Minimum of 300, but no more than 1,000. We don't want to put speed humps on collectors or arterials. This is primarily for local, minor residential streets, not commercial or industrial classifications. The 85th percentile speed, we're going to measure that. I mean, are people really speeding? And if they are, a lot of times they'll set a speed limit, a minimum amount of miles per hour over the speed limit, whether it's 5 or more. We do have the ability to put together those traffic studies through our MPO. But, we may look to have some of our own measuring equipment in-house. I already covered commercial industrial streets. We'd also want to make sure that it's not a transit along a bus transit route or emergency service route. And then this is an interesting one. All the ones that I found have this. So the staff, when the application or pre-app is submitted, hey, this is where I want to put one, the staff then tells that applicant, okay, these are all the houses that are going to be affected by this speed hump, whether they abut that block or what. Then it's on the applicant to go door to door and collect signatures to support or signatures of no objection to the placement of the speed hump. Whether it's 50% or more, or it's 2/3, however we want to strike it, whatever we feel is sufficient. That way, we don't end up with a situation where we put in one thinking that that's what the neighborhood wants, and you put in one because you get a couple of phone calls asking for one, and then you get hundreds of calls telling you want to take it out. These are not cheap to install. So we want some buy-in from the neighborhood. Then finally, the procedure. Okay, so yes, you would complete the application, submit it along with the signatures from the property owners. Then staff would review it and come up with some recommendation. Then it would go before the council to introduce and pass as an ordinance, just like we would for speed limits or no parking zones, right? And then if all that goes through, then the parish would install it. If it's denied, then no application can be made for speed humps in the same location for a period of, say, a year. And then removal, same procedure. So sometimes that, they go in for a number of years and then people don't want it anymore. And then the last thing is cost. I mean, I've seen everything from, the municipality fits the bill entirely. In some instances, there's an opportunity the property owners can share the costs with the municipality, and then there's one community where they make the property owners pay for it. So that's kind of the outline.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's a draft, but I can tell you right now, it's one of the better starts that we ever had, because for some reason, traditionally in the past, the speed bumps that Terrebonne Parish installed was incorrect. Those things are designed that we had in the past for parking lots, speed bumps, those little short inches wide, or for parking lots, not for residential roadways. That caused a lot of problems. Speed humps are totally different, and right now we just don't have the manpower, police force, to watch every speeders in the residential area, and a lot of people are complaining. And we played with this for several years, but I'm glad now that we have something tangible that we can see. But I would like to move forward with this, because this is definitely highly requested in my areas, no matter if it's on the east or west side. which I represent both, but I can tell you that the people seem to really want to embrace these things, and speed humps is a more safer way, I feel, than speed bumps. And it's not even the discussion to put those things in, but as far as speed humps. But I see we have some lights. I'm going to let others talk.
Mr. Hamady?
Yes, thank you. Chris, I'm going to have a couple of things because I've been looking at this a lot too based off of some of the phone calls I've gotten. I've been studying the Federal Highway Administration. They put out a lot of information on this, different types of calming devices. I'm guessing you guys have been looking at that stuff as well. What people don't realize sometimes, when they put one of these things on one street, then they move all the traffic to another street. So is that going to be considered in the study area?
Yes.
Okay. And then once they put them down, is there going to be a set time before it can be removed? Like it has to remain for 12 months?
We could certainly do that.
Because you're talking, the cost I've been seeing is $2,000 to $4,000 for some types of them, and as much as $8,000 for some of the raised devices. And I think if we're going to foot the bill for that, then we need to put some stipulation. It's like, you really want it, then you're going to keep it.
Yeah, just like we have in here, if it's denied, then you can't resubmit an application for a period of a year. Okay, well, once it's installed, you can't submit an application to remove it for a year.
So we're going to have that in the policy.
That's why we had the signatures too, is to get that immediate buy-in.
Well, and then I like that, they have to go out and get their neighbors to sign on to it as well, because then they've got skin in the game. So, because like you said, we might get 5 or 6 calls. You have 100 people that are going to be affected. We don't want to do something because of 5 or 6 when the other 95 don't want something. I think when they see the difference, like my colleague here was talking about those speed bumps like they put in parking lots, people think of that. And those things just destroy your vehicle if you hit them at 25 miles an hour. Whereas when they see these different devices, it's a more smoother transition. They might be a little bit more in agreement to do that. So I think this is a very good start. I commend you on what you guys are doing. I looked at that, and I looked at Lafayette, because the parish of Lafayette has a really stringent plan to get them done, and it covers all bases. One, where the parish funds it, and then if they don't quite meet the criteria, then they can go to the property owners and say, hey, if you guys pay for it, we'll still do it. And that sort. So, again, thanks for the hard work that you're doing, and like Mr. Navy, be glad to see it move on.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Yeah, one thing I would add to your procedure is similar to how we do when somebody has a permit or a project in a coastal area or so. They send it to the people to sign off for no objection. I think the council person for that area should sign off as not objecting to it before it comes on a council, because I don't think we as a council should be approving something and getting a bunch of phone calls for that councilman unless that councilman is on board. So I think that councilman should sign off first before it even comes to the council.
We should do that at the pre-application stage, so before they even start knocking on doors, you know that they're going to be knocking on doors.
Right. And, yeah, I think we need to, we're getting more and more phone calls. This is an unbelievably growing problem. And, Mike, if you could check, I know Dave Rome is not here, but we were supposed to be we were supposed to be asking South Central Planning to do a study information on South Down West Boulevard, with the ability of taking out some of the four-way stops and putting in speed humps in place of them, because I think we would find if you looked at the speeding on South Down West, it's probably the 85 percentile is probably not there. The speeding's probably, they're not speeding that much, but now they're not stopping at stop signs. So the stop signs have solved one problem and created another. And they literally have stop signs at every single intersection. So I think if we were able to remove some of the stop signs and add the speed humps, we might be able to solve both problems. But that's one of the areas that I'm going to be looking at. But even before I do that, I'm not going to want the resident to send 4 letters. I'm going to want to send 34 letters, because I want to make sure that, there's not opposition, just like I do with four-way stops. So I would like to know about them before they even get to the council to give me time to do that. Thanks.
Right.
Ms. Doheny.
And, going off of what these guys said, this is one of the biggest concerns that people come to us with is speeding. And if we don't slow down this parish, something terrible is going to happen. A child is going to get killed. And coming from a mother who my children like to play in the street and like to ride their bikes, if we do not slow down and start respecting each other in this parish, something really terrible is going to happen. And if this can help, then I'm all for it. You can put them everywhere in District 5 because every single neighborhood that I visited says the same thing. Why can't we have these things? So sign me up, whatever we can do. Let me know. I will get signatures for you because this absolutely has to be a priority for this parish. Thanks.
Mrs. Michaud.
Have y'all found out how much one of those would cost? Some range.
The number that you heard thrown out, I think 2,000 to 4,000 is kind of what I've heard, but I don't know if David's. I know he's looked specifically at certain product types, but I don't know what the cost is.
Okay, and I'm just going to give a point that maybe other people are not thinking of. About a year and a half ago, I wanted to put some stop signs to slow traffic down in Plantation. Is it?
Southern Estates.
Southern Estates, okay? And that was voted against because South Central Planning said, oh, no, stop signs don't work because actually people have a tendency, and they were supported with other data, okay? But people have a tendency to slow down or stop at the stop sign and speed up to go between. Well, what's going to stop from doing the same thing with this? And as far as the stop signs are concerned, removing stop signs, I know most people don't realize this, but I can tell you in Broadmoor, we have four-way stops we have all-way stops, I think, at probably almost every intersection, okay?
It's got to be close.
But what people don't maybe realize is that the reason for those stop signs is because they had some fatalities there way back at the beginning of Broadmoor before they had those stop signs, and people were speeding down those streets. And I believe that they were very successful in slowing it down. And then one other point I want to bring up is about getting the signatures. If we did, and I'm just picking this out of the air, okay, but if we wanted to put one on the first block of Douglas, which I'm sure is over 600 feet long, okay, wanted to put one in the middle there, and leave the stop sign, okay, but who is considered to be abutting, or who is it considered to be affecting? Not just the people in that first block. It's affecting probably, 300 people there at the very least. I mean, it's more than that if it's affecting them ever, and probably 300 to 400 if it's affecting them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I've seen that identified as, okay, only properties that have property boundaries on that block. In some jurisdictions go bigger than that. And I don't think it's, I'm not sure at this point. I mean, we still have a lot to go through, but I don't think we might want to consider, let that be a little bit subjective based on the review by staff, like to take into account, okay, if this is the first block coming into, a 200 lot subdivision, well, it's going to affect everybody. But if it's, off in the back corner somewhere, then perhaps not. Maybe it's just those
Sure.
ones.
Right,
and then,
exactly.
Talking to the versus a stop sign, I mean, these things would have to be at least 125 feet before you get to an intersection. So, I mean, that's the idea. Is we're trying to slow down the traffic between the stop signs or between the intersections. We wouldn't want to put one of these at an intersection.
Okay, and have any studies been done to determine, given that they're this far apart or given that they're this far from an intersection, how much does it slow traffic down?
Well, I'm sure the data's out there. I mean, I've pulled those distances just based on, again, comparable size communities and what did most of them have as a minimum separation? Did most have 300 or 250?
And that's what they have, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But has there been data that shows that whether or not it's slowed traffic down?
We'll have to compare that. I mean, we're going to have to dig into it deeper.
Okay, I mean, I would like to know for people who've already
Sure.
done it, whether or not that's the case. Okay, that's all I have. But it's not a bad idea. But if it doesn't work, we're talking about thousands of dollars per speed bump compared to the I don't know how much it costs to put a stop sign up to $200. That they didn't want to do because they were afraid people were gonna accelerate between them. So I just wanted to bring that up and show a little comparison, and trust you to look into it the best way you can. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Ms. Domain.
And there have been studies done on this, and if you go to the DOTD website, they've actually, Lafayette Parish is the poster child for these speed deterrents. And it's not just speed humps, there's speed cushions, there's speed tables, there's lots of different devices that we could put. I mean, there's speed bubbles, there's all kind of different things. So it's not just a hump. And so there may very well be something that might be more cost effective for Terrebonne Parish that we can look at and that you guys can look at, and we could try out in different areas that may not be an $8,000 speed hump, but maybe something that may cost a little bit less. But it works in Lafayette Parish, and it's dramatically reduced Lafayette Parish. Dramatically reduce the speeding over there. So, you can look at that data right now on DOTD.
Mr. Navy.
Just want to ditto what Ms. Domain said and what Ms. Domedy was saying. Yeah, Lafayette is the poster child. And I talked to some people out there, and yes, they love it. So I guess we could look at that and compare it to that community there. But before I make a motion, anybody have any more discussion? Because I don't want to make a motion and someone still have some discussion.
Mr. Hardy.
Yes, a lot of people that's within the community where I live, they actually suggested speed bumps or some type of deterrent for the speeders. Mr. Michel, he expressed a concern. There are a lot of other concerns. I'm pretty sure that the method that we actually choose, and you made mention of Mr. Rome, so if he's dealing with the highway and the passage of it, and y'all get together and you deal with how to apply and when to apply. But I think uses expertise in the public service and doing the roads and stuff like that, where he can make a pretty good decision on that, which is best for the parish. What's happening in Lafayette might be one thing, but what he choose, I think we can go with that.
Mr. Dirk Gidry.
Yeah, did anybody come out and figure out how we're going to pay for this? I mean, if you got 100 speed bumps, they got to get put out at $8,000 a piece. I mean, it adds up pretty fast. Why are we going to get this out of our budget? Or we're going to take it from roads and bridges that our roads need to be done right now? And I'm all for speed bumps, but how do we pay for it? 100 of them is not much for Terra. You could do 100 in a little while. I'm just figuring, how are we going to pay this? How are we going to pay for it? Whose account is this going to come out of?
Well,
did we ever think about this?
I don't have any in planning and zoning. I can tell you that I can develop the application within my budget. Maybe that's something David and I would have to arm wrestle over as well. But Candace, I'm sure can speak to some of that.
Yeah, because I got a bunch of speed bumps right now. It's called bad roads. You know what I mean? And I need a lot of money to fix the streets in my district. And if we're gonna, spend $600,000-$700,000 in speed bumps, I'd like to get my streets done. So. But that's not been brought up, so I'd like to know how we're going to fund this.
Yes, sir. So it would, not knowing the full plan, just what Chris had presented to you guys tonight and what was talked to us in staff this week, I think it would have to come out of, unfortunately, road and bridge budget and our general fund. Possibility would be maybe if there is some kind of grant out there that we can get to start the process. I think what would have to be decided, and I don't know how it would be decided, is how many do we want to put in the budget per year
Yeah.
Is it one per district? Is it one per, do we focus on one district to the next? So all of that would have to be determined. But you're right. Before we can even implement this and start taking applications, we have to make sure we know how we're going to pay for it.
Right, I mean, we could pass this and have a feel-good deal right now, but if we don't have money to pay for
You're not
this.
going to be able to apply the.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
correct.
sure everybody's that's up here, that district has bad roads.
Right.
And if we start taking this money all out of our road districts, we're gonna have speed bumps with bad roads.
Right.
So, I mean, before we just jump on it and say, hey, this is the thing to do, this is what we should do, we need to do all our homework on this and figure out how
Correct.
we're gonna pay for this. Thank
Right,
you.
and I know that, David and Chris have talked about cost effective, so maybe there are some other options that, aren't quite as costly and the funding won't be so much. But before we would do anything and before I think this would be implemented, we would put the funding in place. And of course, that would have to come to you guys for a budget amendment.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, I'd like to speak along with what Mr. Guidry just got through saying. David, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Candace, David said we had, I think, $500,000 in the budget for overlaying of streets in the parish. Okay, $500,000 is not gonna come, it probably won't do 10% of what we need overlaid. I'm for all slowing the traffic down. There's no two ways about it. But I agree with Dirk in the fact that we can't rob Peter to pay Paul here, okay? And his point of the roads are being, traffic is being slowed down because we have a lot of potholes. That is true in a lot of particular areas. I have some that are very dangerous in my area, and it's not even on the priority list. And buses pass there every day. So, again, I think this is a wonderful idea. If the funds are, if there's grants out there to help us with this, I mean, Chris, you mentioned that in some particular areas, they ask the landowners to, I mean, when you pave streets, you ask the landowners and they have to do it. So I think there's a number of ways that it can be funded, but I don't think it should be moved from our roads and bridges to do this. Thank you.
And just so you know, I know David Rome had looked at some product types that can be used at other locations. So you could put them down and you basically bolt them in so they stay there as long as they're wanted, and then we could move them to another location if the opportunity presents itself.
Darren is definitely about to bring forward about the Revenue Review Committee. We could look at the way we're structuring our tax base right now, look at that issue. I wouldn't ask the people to pay for it. The people pay enough taxes in this parish to start asking them to pay for speed humps. Yeah. Our tax rate is too high as it is. And also, Candace, I mean, look, we just approved $50 million. He just read off $50 million with the project. Won't we have any savings from all these projects that we're doing? We won't have any kind of savings from all that? That's going to definitely be spent to the dollar? Or do we ask for more money? Or I'm just asking. We have to do something, and we have to be creative, think outside the box. I mean, apparently that's what we're doing with all these projects. But anyway, my motion would be motion to request that we develop a criteria policy procedure for speed humps and present the draft of the ordinance to the council, the following Public Service Committee for introduction and hold over.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Mr. Navy and Mr. Darren Gidry and Jessica DePlantis. I'm sorry, Domain.
Do we want to consider a substitute motion to make sure that we include how it's going to be paid for before we?
Well, I wouldn't include that because what we're doing right now is drafting something. We can't present anything because we don't know any cost. I don't know any cost. That's part of his plan to come back.
That could be in
part of his plan to come back with a cost. And I guess for any calming devices, as you look at, and you can also, like you said, John Amity had a great idea. In some areas, what they do is you have a certain amount that you have to do, and after you apply for those applications, whatever, and you have done all that, that's it. That's all the money that we have. But we have to start somewhere. I mean, we've got to be creative somewhere. Thank you.
Mr. Darren Gidry?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with Mr. Navy. What's the cost of somebody's life? I mean, I have one neighborhood that the houses are right up against the road. The kids are playing in the front of the road, okay? We need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, Okay, we might need to put a few speed humps out there at the same time as fixing our roads. I don't think it's one or the other. If there is a dire need, we don't need to then say, let's put together criteria. Let's put together the criteria. If there's not a dire need, we don't have the money, we deal with it at that particular time. But if there's a dire need, and I have one particular subdivision, there's a dire need, and it's not south, down, west, and the houses are close together. To me, the lives of the kids are the most important thing to me, other than a front and alignment, but we can do both. Let's do both, So I support it. Thanks.
Okay, and Chris, I have a question, and I realize this is just a draft. Actually, I had two, but you answered one about being able to reuse them. But on item 2, you got the designated area must exceed 300 average daily trips.
Oh, I'm sorry. Must exceed 300 average daily trips, but not more than 1,000.
I understand that, but we have some residential areas that the street is basically just a one lane dead end street that may only have 75, maybe 50, 75, maybe 100 households, which you may not get to the 300 daily trips. But out of the 200 trips that go up and down that street, 195 of them are speeding.
Well,
I mean, I realize this is just a
I hear what
draft,
you're saying.
but we need, we need to. I mean, when you say must, well, that's kind of cut and dry,
Maybe it could be also linked to the 85th percentile as well. So, we know, that when the speed study is being done, it's also not only is it counting how fast people are going, but how many trips are being made. So I think as long as it's warranted is really what we're trying to do.
And some of these residential areas, even some of the moderate size, like in what subdivisions I live at, we don't have nearly 300 people going in and out of the subdivision.
300.
But I can tell you, we have probably 85% of them speeding when they're going through that subdivision because speeding is 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, on average, a single-family home generates roughly 10 trips per day. So
that must be some more company. Most people work every day. I don't know, but
it's an average.
It's just something I thought, and I just it's something we might need to kind of must is kind of cut and dry. You must have 300. That kind of we might need to maybe terminology might be different.
But one last question, I do want you to add something that Darren said was very important. Make sure you put in there that council members have the ability to object if they don't want them in their district. Okay, that if you have an application come forward from some residents that say they want that, put it in there that a council member actually have the ability to object if they don't want it in a council district or roadways. Thanks.
Okay, so we have. Oh, I'm sorry, we got another light, Mr. Babin.
I'm not quite sure why would we, if the criteria is set up that you have to go out and get a number of people who want this, okay? That's the people that we represent. If that greater number wants it, why would the council person have the right to object to putting it in their district? I'm not quite sure where you're going with that one. I mean, I would like to see it before it comes to the council as a council person, but if there's 150 signatures that want it, why would one council person have the right to object to it and vote it down? Are you considering voting it down or just objecting? Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, some council members seem to have some problems with it, so I just want to make sure if that's the problem that they don't want those certain speed humps in their community, then they have the ability to object to it. We do that now. We, not necessarily for the speed hump, but we do objections and objections already. So he was just saying that he would like to have the ability, just like they already have in some instances, if you want to object to something, you as a council member can object to it. We sign off on that already. So I'm just saying if that's a problem and some council members do not want those calming devices or whatever in their areas, they have the ability to object to it.
Yeah, and listen,
Wait, let me put this on record though. I don't object to it because I want them all over District 1, just like Jessica want them all District 5.
No,
so I know I don't object to it at all.
And I understand that. I'm just saying that we may be defeating the whole point of going out in the community and asking their opinion whether they want it or not if we in fact just object to it. We have to represent the people. And if the majority of the people want it, then there's no reason that we should have an objection. If the majority of the people don't want it, then we ought to have an objection.
Well, anybody that's watching this tape can see what was said. So I'm just simply saying that to resolve some issues that some council members may have, they would have the ability to do that. I don't have a problem. I want them all in District 1. I want that on record. So I'm just saying.
Well, I don't have a problem either if the majority of the people on a street or in a subdivision or in an area want it. Okay? Simple and pure. Thank you.
Mr. Harding.
Yeah, I just want to say that, the process has started. And I think we can have a bunch of debate about a bunch of stuff. So therefore, we are going forward. Thank you very much.
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify my comments. Why would a councilman vote against it? Well, it may be that we only budget one speed hump in that council district for that year. It may be that you have two people who are requesting it. It could be that one of them is very, very fast and gets to us first. But it may not be the greatest need. There may be another need that affects more. I represent the area. I know the district. I want to be able to say, I turn this down right now because we only have one. If they want to pay for it, then we'll put the second one in. They can, we'll go and revisit it next year. But if you only have one, the council people represent that particular district. I just think the council people should be able to have a say because we're going to get the phone calls. Why else? How many residents, you say, the 4 residents affected by how many signatures do they need to have for this app?
I mean, some it's 50%, some 60%,
I mean, if you put
some
150
75.
signatures and we verify that 150 signatures are directly affected, yeah, I would have absolutely no problem. I would be all gung-ho. But odds are we're going to put in there that you're going to get 4 residents around that particular area. And it may be the beginning of a subdivision that's affected by, that has 1,000 people that live in the subdivision. You may get, 996 people complaining. And the 4 people are completely happy there. I want to have the ability to represent the 994 because I represent them as well as the 4, and I can weigh that. Yeah, I pay the political cost if I go and intervene. That's what election times are for. But hey, they elected me, so I think they trust my judgment a little bit. So I would like to have a say before a speed hump is put in my district. That's why I mentioned that. So I still believe that way. Thanks.
Mr. Babin.
Again, as Mr. Harding said, this is a starting point, okay? And a lot of things can be discussed from here. But we keep talking about our district. It's not our fiefdom. This is a representative form of government, and we represent the majority of the people, okay? So I don't think that any one of us up here should have the ability to rule over that particular district. I think the people rule the district, and those people voted to put us up here to represent them. Thank you.
You have the motion, Ms. Finita? Yes. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. And by the way, I gave y'all 4 lights, Mr. Babin and Mr. Guidry.
I ain't want to say nothing, but I don't want to get in an argument. So I get in an argument. I don't want to get in an argument, so I ain't saying anything.
Okay, parish president's not here, so announcements from council members. Ms. Domain.
I just want to wish everybody happy Mardi Gras. Stay safe, don't drink and drive, and have a good time.
Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yeah, I'd like to thank HPD for going all over the parish and looking at all the burnt street lights all over the parish. I know Energy won't do it because I don't know why Energy won't do it, but they're just kind of on the lazy side. But if you would pass that on to Chief Coleman, that I sure appreciated them coming down to buyers and taking that time from any duties that they had to do in town. So please pass that on to him. Thank you.
Mr. Babbitt.
Yeah, Steve, you brought up something the other night about the light at Thompson Road and Highway 57, okay? That's been an ongoing saga. It's gotten to actually be a joke, okay? Because I was on the phone with Chris Morvaunt with DOTD again today, and supposedly it's still at landmark surveying to get back to them. He said he couldn't get in touch with the man at Entergy. As soon as I hung up the phone with him, I called Mr. Chesson. He answered the phone immediately. So I don't know who to believe anymore on it. Mr. Dove and I have been talking about it and laughing, not laughing at the situation because it's very dangerous because there's another bad accident there last week. But DOTD has already paid for the post and whatever needs to go up there, and we're waiting on a surveying company supposedly to get back. I just hope that we don't have a fatality there before this circus is over with.
Well,
but I just wanted to let the people know in the districts that are close to that we're in daily contact with them to try and expedite this.
I'm glad you're working on it because I know you said we are a representative form of government, and I quit calling. I've called several times. I give up. I just can't understand how come the 56 side gets lit. Actually, the lights and the poles were on. Exactly. The lights and the poles were actually up on 57 before they were on 56. And 56 got energized immediately. And I passed there a while ago. I thought I was going to be late coming to the meeting. But I appreciate you stayed on top of it because I gave up on it. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yeah, and going back with Danny, I agree with you because these lights have been installed and ready for electricity since October. So this is going on 4 months that these lights are sitting here waiting for electricity to be hooked up to them. So, I mean, that's a disgrace to DOTD and whoever has something to do with it. And if somebody does get seriously hurt or killed, that could be on their conscience, you know. And I mean, just to hook up a pole, it's a joke, man. It's a joke. Thank you.
And I
just want everybody who may be watching this in the audience, this is not Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government holding this up. This is a surveyor, Department of Transportation, and Entergy. Okay? Thank you.
I was fixing to state the same thing, Mr. Babin, but it is a direct reflection on Terrebonne Parish because we get the calls. And I also want to remind everyone to remember to keep all our military veterans active and veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, first responders, your thoughts and prayers daily. Thanks.